Jesus had to preserve John the Beloved on the Isle of Patmos. John the Beloved was his physical best friend on earth. He was that disciple that would put his chest on his head on Jesus' chest and hear his heartbeat. And so Jesus chose him to disclose himself to him. The first thing Jesus did in the book of Revelation, when he came to encounter John, John didn't recognize him. Jesus had to introduce himself to John. Meanwhile, that was the John that we thought knew Jesus, because he was everywhere Jesus was. But the revelation that John had about Jesus was time-based. Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus was an eternal colossus. The prism of his knowledge of Jesus had to be uttered. And Jesus came and said, I am Alpha and Omega. And surprisingly, in the Greek, there's no and. It's I'm Alpha, Omega. I am first, last, at the same time. It's an eternity-based frame of reference. Oh, you are not with me. Okay, you know Benue Hinn? You know that program on TBN, This Is Your Day? Benue Hinn went to preach. I hope you know that those episodes you see on This Is Your Day, it takes 2 weeks for them to do post-production before you watch it. I've been a terrible student of that man's life. I found he's one of the men that have treasure from heaven. Not every man has treasure. Be informed. There are some men that God has given treasure, and not for themselves, but for the body of Christ. So he was not available to record an episode of the program because he was on a crusade, I think somewhere in the Middle East at that time. Then he told the productions manager to go and pick any tape at random and just play an old tape. And according to the profession, the practice of journalism, the practice of I've forgotten my words. It's wrong for you to use an old tape that has a specific message, because in that tape, Benue Hinn gave a word of knowledge about a lady that was called Phoebe, wearing yellow dress on the couch, watching, that had cancer. It's too specific. So, but the tape was already running, and the productions manager couldn't change the tape to give a tape that was more general. 15 minutes after the video, the Phoebe called. She was the one wearing yellow. She had cancer. And when Benue Hinn was praying, that she began to vibrate. And the pain where the cancer was had vanished. So she was testifying. The production manager was the one that almost died, almost fainted. Because in his eyes, he was dealing with an old tape. But you see, the technology behind the old tape is Alpha Omega. It is first and last. So the infirmity of time could not act upon it, because the substance that the tape was carrying was not time-based. And that was the introduction that Jesus had to bring to John. I am Alpha and Omega. I am first and last. First, last. It was on the strength of that revelation that John could write a prophetic book that created linkages into the past, created insight into the present, and created perspective for the future. It was the operating system of that revelation that opened that prophetic book. Every time you will find God, when he trains his prophets, the last lap of the training is that he will bring you out and say, what seest thou? And everybody that Jesus had to handle his case, that it was a case of sight, he normally asks what they see. And if the sight is defective, he will pray again. For some of us tonight, Jesus needs to pray again.